Greetings and welcome to our live interview with F. Hoffman LaRoche, who was recently honored with the ASCM Award of Excellence for Corporate Transformation. My name is Carolyn Lawrence. I am the Director of Corporate Membership for ASCM, and I am thrilled to be joined today by Richard Groneboom, Head of the Global Clinical Supply Chain Management, and Natalie Mathis, Business Process Manager and Project Lead from Roche's Clinical Supply Chain Group, also known as the Pharma Technical Development Supply Chain, or PTSD. Richard, Natalie, thank you for joining me, and we are thrilled to have you, and congratulations on your award. Richard, could you share with our audience, our LinkedIn audience, a little background about the specific problem you were looking to solve by this transformation, as well as some of its primary goals?
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. First of all, big thank you to you and ASCM having this interview and obviously getting the recognition with the award. Within a pharmaceutical setting and a researching company like Roche is, there are a few characteristics of a supply chain that are important. So in a clinical supply chain, and high reliability and kind of a service level, which is 99.9% or even better than that, making sure every patient gets to his drugs in the study that he's participating in is extremely important. On top of that, a high responsiveness and high agility, making sure you can adjust to where the study is going, and making still sure that you keep up your performance is important too. And I would say costs, assets and costs are of moderate kind of interest. It doesn't mean that thinking costs anything, but it's maybe not in the same level as the other parameters. So what were the goals that we tried to pursue with the work we did with ASCM and SCORE? Two main buckets. One on the performance side, whereas we have high reliability, we definitely can do better in terms of speed and turning processes around from maybe things that take a month or a couple of months, maybe into weeks. Also our cost, and especially the inventory and excess inventory that we have in clinical supply chain, which can be up to 40-50% of your inventory that you in the end do not use. So we want to do better there. And one of the facilitators that we were using throughout the workshops was saying, like, Roche is data rich, but insights poor. So what can we do better in the usage of our data to make maybe faster and better decisions than we have been doing so far? So that's one area, the performance. The second piece is maybe more around people and people understanding and identifying best practices that we can apply. People understanding standard processes and standard KPIs that we can apply within clinical supply, and speak a common language. We were not saying or using the same kind of wording across our sites and across our people, although we were meaning the same thing with what we wanted to say. Typically, one of the mindsets that we had is like, yeah, there are some good processes out there from other industries, but they don't really apply to clinical supply. We are different. And I think one of the goals was also for us to break through a little bit that mindset and say, look, where can we actually make that change? Where can we apply common practices also within clinical supply?
Richard, thank you. Natalie, can you describe a little bit about how ASCM global standards, our products, services, and resources, and especially the SCORE framework, enabled this transformation?
Yes, so first of all, also thank you for the award from my side. I think it's really rewarding for the people at PTDS, and they're very proud for all the efforts they have done in that transformation to get that additional recognition. Yes, let me come to your question. So first of all, I think the SCORE reference model really helped us on the education bit. Like, we really brought everyone with that on the same level or on a basic level of supply chain understanding, which allowed us to have a common language and a common understanding of what is what and how is it defined and where does it belong to. And then, of course, combining this with the accelerator workshops that we did, it really helped us kickstarting our transformation or being the basis of that transformation. So having gone to the accelerator workshops, it was an opportunity for people to kind of deepen their knowledge they gained within the trainings, but also where we, like, by analyzing all our KPIs, all our processes that we had, like taking the time to do that together. We identified so many opportunities. We called them first pain points, but we really realized they are opportunities. And actually linking those opportunities with the industry best practices that we got from the score reference model, it was also taking out some resistance you might get for some changes, because you could really show with the score reference model that this is industry best practices, others are doing that, so it's really working out, and you're taking out some of the resistance, and you get people like saying, we want that too. Something very specific for our organization before we did the score transformation was basically that the plan organization took care of a lot of make activities, or actually they were just really much involved into make activities. And also by going through those processes, by using the reference model, we could really show on what belongs where, and it was helping us to bring back like make to make, right? And get plan focus on actually where the focus should be and where they can really add the value for the organization as a planning organization.
Thanks, Natalie. I appreciate it. Richard, what are some of the most valuable results that that Roche received or that you expect to achieve with this initiative?
Yeah, tying in a little bit to my first answer. So again, on the performance side, we definitely zoomed in on a couple of those opportunities I mentioned. So the responsiveness, we call it kind of a lead time. To be honest, when we started, we didn't have a proper metrics for that. So we introduced obviously KPI. You can't measure, you can't improve, I think is a famous statement, which I think is valid. So we did that, and many times it's about identifying waste in your processes and trying to eliminate those. So we already have a basis within Roche around lean practices, and I think ASCM and lean go very nicely hand in hand. So building on that lean basis, we definitely did better there. So we now kind of cut down our lead times with 30% versus our baseline. Inventory reduction. So we took out double-digit million in terms of inventory, and which is a couple of percentage points of our inventory. And we also looked at, for example, sustainability. What can we do better in this case, environmental sustainability? So we introduced a shipping box, a reusable shipping box that actually reduced the landfill that we're having. So that was more on the performance side, a couple of examples. On the people side, a lot of education happened with the ASCM courses, but then also during the accelerator workshops, as Natalie explained, there was continuous learning, if you like, from our people. Really, incorporating this common language, just a higher understanding which processes we want and we want to improve, and which KPIs we want to introduce and standardize. I would say also in the past we didn't really have a high orientation towards benchmarks and the insights that can give you. And I think also, again, with our initiatives, we appreciate those more, and we have better insights on what the benchmark says and where our performance lies. And obviously out of that, you can identify opportunities. But maybe to sum it all up, which was really a huge achievement for our team, and I guess for patients out there. So we were in the midst of COVID. There was a request to support a study. The study is called Covacta, which was an existing medicine from Roche to use it in a COVID-19 related trial. And things that normally would have taken up to 2 to 3 months, we in the end did in 3 weeks. So from study design all the way through packaging, all the way through delivery, in 3 weeks was like nobody believed it. To be honest, I also didn't believe our team could be so fast. And definitely, I think all the work we had done with SCORE and ASCM to identify opportunities where we can go faster, and realizing those then and when it really matters, that was a huge achievement for everybody.
Wow, that's outstanding. So you got some great short-term gains, some great returns on your investment, but it sounds to me like the investment that you've made in your people and helping them come together as a supply chain team not only helped in this one instance, but it's going to help you long term. Natalie, I have a question for you. So typically when companies are undergoing this large scale transformation, there's usually some surprises that come along or some unique challenges that come along, maybe things that you weren't expecting. Can you share with us a little bit about, from the PTSD perspective, while you're working on this, maybe some of the lessons that you learned, some of the challenges that you ran into?
Yeah, so I actually basically came with SCORE like at the same time, like SCORE to the organization, and the workshops were like my start. And I think one of the biggest surprises, not only to me, was how many opportunities we found. Like we really found so many opportunities in each of the workshops. So I recall, Douglas might know the exact number, but it was more than 200 opportunities just out of Make Kaiser Augst, right?
Wow.
This is really like, wow. It's like once you have the full list compiled, you look at it, it's stunning. And then you have like this excitement on them, and you're clustering them into projects that you want to move forward and bring them forward. You get the people so motivated in those workshops. And then actually this leads to many projects, and you're realizing, yeah, that the business still has to go on, and it actually needs to go with the transformation. And you have everyone like on the start line, right, ready to run, and you realize, oh, we need to prioritize. We cannot do all in once. And that was a bit like for us, like, oh my God, right? We found so much and we were so motivated, and then we realized, wait, we have to put a quick stop here, do the right prioritization. And I think that's really one learning, like, okay, we cannot just go run. We really have to take the time to also work out a prioritization, to look at the dependencies in really depth of the different projects, to make sure like the priority setting considers them as well. So that was a bit like, yeah, it's amazing. And then on the other side, really also challenging, because once you go and you prioritize and you have to tell to one project, we're sorry, but you need to wait for another one to deliver out, or you need to wait for 4 more months so we can support it with resources. Like to not lose the motivation of those people, right? And keep them motivated, and like keep on bringing that message. It is important. It doesn't mean it's not important. It's just we have to balance it with the daily business we still have to support, which is a very important one.
Right. So you had to temper some folks that were excited to go. But Natalie, can you share with us a little bit about that prioritization? So what were some of the criteria maybe that you use? Because I know some of the companies that we work with, often say, how do I prioritize when I have so many things that I need to do?
Yeah, so I think it was a bit of the classic, like the effort benefits, like what are the quick wins, what are really the heavy lifting ones, but really important. We have to start them now, otherwise it takes too long to get them done. We would still take that one first. Then also what played a role is like, where would we have the resources more easily available? So not only from that perspective, but also what we can support right away. Because if there was no need to stop, even if you were not priority one, why not letting the people go now, being fully motivated to do so if there was no dependency impact? So I think it was a bit of the classics, while also acknowledging the situations you have in your organization, and so a mix.
Yeah.
And I think what is really important is to do it continued, like to also revisit your priorities. Like you have more things coming up. We did the accelerator workshops in sequence, right? Like to really revisit, make sure we can finish off stuff that is close to finish off, that we enable, but also new things that need to come in and really show big benefit effort ratio that we want to do so. So to also be courageous to revisit a decision you might have taken like 6 months ago, and acknowledge the circumstances and the opportunities this brings.
Right. Well, certainly in this environment, so much has changed with the global pandemic. Finally, I'm going to ask Richard, can you share a little bit of the insight into why you chose to partner with ASCM for this initiative? What was the driving factor behind that?
Yeah. Having done a couple of supply chain transformations and working with I'm going to say a bit more general consultancy, I felt this one was really very successful in the collaboration with the ASCM and our teams. I think one reason was definitely the excellent facilitation and training we got. We were probably pretty lucky that we would have one facilitator that took us through all the accelerator workshops. So in the end, Douglas has a better understanding of my teams than I maybe have myself, but I think he did a great job. And obviously with that, he brings in cross-industry experience. He knows what's going on in other parts of the world, in other companies, and in a nice way challenges you then, like, hey, why is this not applicable to you? Could this be an idea for your supply chain and so on? So I think that made a difference. There is a very structured approach from the first day on. It's clear how we're going to go through the various workshops. What is the outcome of each workshop, and how do we prepare for each workshop? What is the role of everybody in that workshop? So that structured approach, I think, worked very well for us, and there was not a lot of dispute. It also included voice of customer interviews. We built together value stream maps of our key processes. So that was, I think, pretty structured and well done. And then I would say having benchmark data, best practice data, processes, KPIs, and so on, having that available basically from day one when you do the first accelerator workshop. That is normally not the case. Normally, you have to work on those things while you go through your transformation. I think the benefit that SCORE brings is definitely that it's there from day one, and you choose and pick kind of what's relevant to you. And last but not least, I liked it in terms of being at a very holistic scope. So you look at your processes, but you also look at the data. You also look at the system that you're using. You look at what Natalie said, the roles and responsibilities in your team, and is it well structured? You look at overall people skills. You look at your suppliers and how's the interface there. You look at your customers and how's that interface there. So that holistic approach, because there's always things that are need to be changed in combination. I think that all together, I mean, you can find one or the other aspect with a more generic kind of approach, but having that all together with ASCM, I think that was the game changer for us, and very pleased the way this was run with us. Yeah.
Can I may add, I agree to everything that was said, but what I found really special, not having experienced that many, but some, is it was really done with the people. So the solution was not provided in a PowerPoint slide. It was like the solution was basically being worked out, the solution proposal together with the people. And I think that for me is also one success factor, why we got the people standing behind it.
Right. So that whole collaboration between learning and doing, and makes it not only scalable, repeatable, but scalable. So from your organization's perspective, you now have some internal learning that I think will be valuable, not just today, but down the road. Guys, that's about all the time we have today, but I really want to thank both of you so much for sharing your success and sharing your insight with us and with our LinkedIn audience. To our LinkedIn audience, if you're interested in learning more about how your organization can embark on a supply chain transformation, please contact the ASCM Corporate Development Team at ascm.org. And that's all the time we have today, but we look forward to meeting you again soon. Richard, Natalie, thank you again.
Thank you, Caroline. It was a pleasure.